The air is thick with the stench of burning cedar and scorching flesh. The year is 1046 BCE. You stand on the bloody plains of Muye, watching the grand Lutai pavilion collapse into a blazing inferno. Inside that roaring fire is King Zhou of Shang, a tyrant who turned cruelty into an art form. His empire, the most ruthless machine of the ancient world, has just shattered beneath your boots. You are King Wu of Zhou. You are the conqueror. You are the man who has just seized control of everything under the sun. But as the ashes fall around you and you finally look up into the cold, vast expanse of the sky, a terrifying realization grips your throat. You have not just won a crown, you have just accepted a curse. The heavens have bestowed upon you the mandate of heaven. It is the absolute divine right to rule over millions of people. But it comes with a lethal condition. The sky is watching your every move. The moment your virtue slips, the moment your grip falters or you succumb to the same decadent desires as the king burning before you, the heavens will ruthlessly rip this power away, exterminating your entire royal bloodline. So, how do you hold a massive, fractured world together? How do you force absolute obedience from millions of people when you simply cannot physically be everywhere at once? You must engineer the most flawless, inescapable psychological prison the ancient world has ever seen. You cannot rule a sprawling, untamed continent through sheer violence alone. Your armies cannot be everywhere. The swords of your guards will eventually rust, and fear is a currency that depreciates the more you spend it. So you must engineer a system of control so brilliant, so suffocating, that your subjects forge their own chains. You establish the Fengjian system. You take the massive, newly conquered territories and slice them into hundreds of distinct domains. You hand these immense tracts of land over to your brothers, your cousins, and your most decorated generals. With this land, you grant them absolute authority. You give them ceremonial jade, heavily armed soldiers, and the divine right to execute anyone who defies them. On the surface, this looks like the ultimate act of royal generosity. It looks like a benevolent king sharing the spoils of a hard-fought war with his most loyal family. But underneath the gold and the glamour, this is an intricate, ruthless network of espionage and control. Every single lord you place on a regional throne acts as a living extension of your will. They are your eyes, your ears, and your executioners in the darkest, most distant corners of the empire. They are bound to you by unbreakable oaths of tribute and, most importantly, by blood. You have outsourced your tyranny to your own family. It is a perfectly calibrated political machine, designed to keep the power entirely within the grip of your bloodline while forcing the provinces to police themselves. For a time, it works beautifully. Your vassals bow their heads and deliver their taxes. But time is the ultimate enemy of any dynasty. A shared bloodline is a fragile thread, and with every passing decade, that thread stretches and frays. 3 or 4 generations from now, the descendants of your loyal brothers will no longer remember the sacrifices made at Muye. They will not view the man sitting on the dragon throne as a beloved father figure. Instead, they will look at you and see only a weak, distant target holding the largest, most lucrative piece of meat. To maintain order across a fractured empire, violence and political marriages are not enough. You must conquer the minds of your subjects. You achieve this through an invisible, suffocating web known as the Rites and music system. Welcome to the daily, claustrophobic reality of the Son of Heaven. Every single aspect of your court is governed by a rigid, unrelenting protocol. This is not about etiquette or artistic expression. This is a calculated psychological weapon designed to enforce absolute hierarchy. You dictate how men walk, how they bow, the exact color of their silk garments, and the precise number of jade pendants they are permitted to wear. Even the dinner table becomes a brutal display of dominance. As the Son of Heaven, you dine with 9 massive bronze cauldrons, each simmering with sacrificial meats. Your highest dukes are permitted 7. A minor lord gets 5. If a regional vassal dares to cast 9 cauldrons for his own banquet, it is not considered a breach of manners. It is an act of high treason, punishable by the immediate extermination of his entire lineage. The air in your palace is constantly vibrating with the heavy, resonant strikes of massive bronze chime bells. These sprawling musical instruments require teams of highly trained musicians to operate. But the music is not meant to entertain. The precise rhythm and harmonic discipline are designed to reflect the cosmic order of the heavens. A single missed note, a slight deviation in the tempo during a sacred sacrifice, is viewed as a disruption of the universe itself. The musicians know that a single clumsy strike of the wooden mallet will result in their immediate execution. Through this terrifying perfection, you project an aura of divine infallibility. You have trapped the entire world inside a beautiful, meticulous cage of rules and rituals. Your vassals are paralyzed by the fear of stepping out of line, submitting entirely to the hypnotic rhythm of your court. But in engineering this flawless, inescapable prison for your subjects, you have overlooked one fatal, catastrophic flaw. This magnificent cage can be utterly shattered by the uncontrolled desires of the very man who created it. Fast forward to the 8th century BCE. The relentless perfection of your ritual cage has bred a suffocating, lethal boredom. You are now King Yu of Zhou, ruling from a throne built on centuries of dominance. You have everything a mortal man could desire: boundless wealth, absolute authority, and an army of servants. Yet, you are consumed by a maddening obsession. Her name is Baosi. She is the most breathtaking woman in the empire, but her face is a mask of cold, unyielding indifference. She refuses to smile. And as the son of heaven, a man who commands rivers and mountains, you cannot tolerate being denied. In a desperate, theatrical attempt to break her icy demeanor, you commit the ultimate act of imperial recklessness. High atop the mountain peaks guarding your capital, the massive beacon fires sit ready. This is your ancient emergency alarm system, designed to summon the regional armies to defend the capital. You order your guards to light them. Massive plumes of thick black smoke tear through the sky. Below, the regional lords panic. Believing the capital is under violent attack, they scramble their armies, driving their war chariots to the point of absolute exhaustion to save you. When they finally arrive at the palace gates, gasping for air and clutching their weapons, they find no enemy. Instead, they find you sitting high on a balcony. And standing beside you, looking down at the humiliated lords, Baosi finally laughs. You got your smile, but that single beautiful smile just burned your empire to the ground. In 771 BCE, the Quanrong nomads actually breach your borders. Real terror strikes. You frantically light the beacon fires again, the smoke screaming into the heavens for help. You wait on the walls, and you wait. But the horizon remains completely empty. Not a single lord comes to save the king. Who cried wolf? The gates are smashed open, your palace is torched, and you are slaughtered in the dirt. The heavens have violently revoked the mandate. But is this the end of your bloodline? No. The true nightmare is only just beginning. You survive the slaughter of the capital, but your survival comes at a humiliating cost. You flee eastward to the city of Luoyang, leaving behind the smoldering ashes of your ancestors. You are still officially the king of Zhou, the son of heaven. But as you sit on your new, diminished throne, the brutal reality of your existence sets in. You are nothing but a ghost, haunting your own empire. Your massive armies are gone. Your royal treasury is completely empty. The terrifying authority that once forced the world to its knees has evaporated. Out in the sprawling provinces, the regional lords you once controlled have mutated into ruthless warlords. This is the dawn of the spring and autumn period, a bloody arena where the strong devour the weak. The most powerful among them rise to become hegemons. They command vast, heavily armored infantries and crush their neighbors without a second thought. Yet, in a twisted display of political theater, these warlords still need you. You sit paralyzed in your quiet, echoing hall as the reigning hegemon strides into your court. His bronze armor is still stained with the blood of your relatives. He bows low before you and loudly proclaims the great slogan of the era: "Revere the king, expel the barbarians." He swears absolute loyalty to your divine rule, but you both know this is a spectacular lie. He does not respect you, he is holding you hostage. He is weaponizing your divine title to legitimize his own violent conquests. By acting as your official protector, he gains the legal right to slaughter any rival state that stands in his way, claiming they are enemies of the throne. And what can you do? You are a helpless prisoner in your own palace. With trembling hands, you press the heavy imperial jade seal onto his decrees, officially blessing the tyrant who just butchered your royal cousins. You have become a pathetic puppet, forced to watch the world tear itself to pieces in your name. This psychological torture becomes your new daily routine as the decades drag on without mercy. As your royal authority disintegrates into a bitter punchline, a strange and magnificent phenomenon takes hold of the empire. With the central government completely powerless to censor or control free thought, the human mind is suddenly and violently liberated from centuries of rigid tradition. Amidst the rotting corpses on the battlefield and the smoldering ashes of burning cities, the greatest intellectual explosion in ancient history detonates. Welcome to the era of the 100 schools of thought. The aristocratic monopoly on education has been permanently shattered. Scholars, philosophers, and military strategists now wander from state to state, carrying heavy scrolls of bamboo, desperately trying to sell their revolutionary ideas to warlords looking for a tactical edge. You watch helplessly from your hollow throne as a determined man named Confucius travels the dusty, blood-stained roads, weeping for the loss of your ancient, perfect rituals. He begs the ruthless rulers to return to morality, filial piety, and strict social hierarchy, hoping to stitch the fractured world back together with sheer virtue. But others look at your crumbling dynasty and choose a drastically different path. You see the mystic Laozi turning his back on society entirely, riding an ox into the untamed western wilderness to find peace in the effortless flow of the natural world. Then there is Mosey, a rugged, pragmatic engineer leading a heavily armed cult of disciplined pacifists. He preaches universal love while simultaneously building massive, deadly siege engines to defend the weakest cities from total annihilation. The air crackles with the rapid-fire debates of hundreds of brilliant minds, arguing relentlessly over the soul of the nation. It is a spectacular marketplace of ideas, a dazzling display of human intellect desperately trying to cure the terminal illness of a dying world. But as you listen to their beautiful philosophies on love, virtue, and cosmic harmony, a chilling truth settles over you. This broken world will never be stitched back together by morality. The chaotic noise of 100 schools will soon be violently silenced, swallowed whole by a single doctrine that is cold-blooded, ruthlessly efficient, and terrifying to its very core. The last fragile mask of aristocratic morality finally falls away, revealing the raw, blood-soaked face of the warring states period. The old rules of engagement are dead. War is no longer a localized ceremonial duel between wealthy nobles driving gilded chariots. It has mutated into a soulless, mechanized meat grinder. The major powers have consolidated into 7 terrifyingly massive states, and they are tearing the continent apart. They draft hundreds of thousands of peasant farmers, strapping them into heavy leather armor and forcing them into the mud. The bronze weapons of your ancestors are replaced by the cold, unforgiving edge of mass-produced iron. The sky goes dark, not from storm clouds, but from dense, suffocating swarms of mechanized crossbow bolts raining down with armor-piercing velocity. You, the once almighty Son of Heaven, are now completely irrelevant. Your grand royal domain has been relentlessly whittled down to a pathetic, single city-state. You cower within your crumbling palace walls, listening to the distant, earth-shattering rumble of marching boots and the agonized screams of a continent consuming itself. You are forced to hear the horrifying reports from the front lines. You learn of the brutal Battle of Changping, where the ruthless state of Qin surrounds the starving army of Zhao. After a grueling, desperate standoff, the Zhao forces lay down their weapons and surrender, expecting the traditional mercy of the old world. Instead, the Qin commander orders over 400,000 captured soldiers to be buried alive in a single, incomprehensibly massive mass grave. The sheer scale of the slaughter is entirely beyond human comprehension. This is no longer a political struggle for dominance. It is an industrial-scale war of absolute annihilation. The brilliant philosophies of love and virtue peddled by the wandering scholars have been utterly drowned out by the relentless, deafening roar of total war. And as the terrifying bloodshed finally reaches a fever pitch, you realize that the ultimate victor will not be the state with the most righteous cause. The ultimate winner will simply be the state that completely weaponizes cruelty without any hesitation, without pity, or moral restraint whatsoever. The camera lens of history shifts to the far west, plunging into the pitch-black, suffocating darkness of the Qin state. Here, the idealistic dreams of wandering philosophers are brutally crushed under the iron heel of a new, terrifying doctrine: legalism. You watch helplessly as a ruthless statesman named Shang Yang systematically dismantles the ancient moral foundations of your crumbling empire. There is no more talk of virtue, no more reliance on the elegant rites and music that you once used to govern the world. In Qin, human morality is considered nothing more than a fatal weakness. The state is transformed into an unfeeling, hyper-efficient machine, powered by the raw, primal forces of absolute fear and naked greed. In this terrifying new society, the law is not designed to protect the people. It is explicitly designed to weaponize them. Every citizen is reduced to a disposable cog in an ever-expanding engine of war. The rules are enforced with a psychotic level of strictness. If a commoner dumps ashes into the public street, their hands are brutally severed without a second thought. But this terror is carefully balanced by a dark, intoxicating incentive system. The only path to wealth and social status is through the shedding of blood. If a peasant soldier severs the head of an enemy on the battlefield, he is immediately rewarded with land, slaves, and an elevation in military rank. Qin does not want independent thinkers or virtuous scholars. It demands merciless killers. The entire population is strictly organized into mutual responsibility groups. If one person breaks a law, their entire family and all their neighbors are executed or sold into grueling slavery. Paranoia becomes the ultimate tool of state control. No one trusts anyone. Fathers spy on sons, and lifelong friends betray each other to survive. You realize with a sickening drop in your stomach that Qin has successfully achieved what you never could. They have systematized violence and weaponized human nature to an absolute, horrifying perfection. The monster is fully grown, its jaws wide open, and its cold gaze is locked dead onto your fragile throne. The year is 256 BCE. 8 long centuries have passed since your glorious ancestor stood in the blood and ash of Muye to claim the mandate of heaven. Today, you are King Nan of Zhou, the last living son of heaven, and your reality is the most bitter, humiliating joke in recorded history. You do not reside in a towering palace commanding the reverence of millions. Instead, you are cowering at the top of a dilapidated wooden tower, hiding like a common thief. You are literally hiding from your own subjects. You borrowed massive sums of money from the local merchants and wealthy peasants, desperately trying to raise a pathetic, last-ditch army to stop the unstoppable Qin war machine. You failed. Now your creditors are banging on the doors, demanding their silver, and the supreme ruler of the universe cannot even afford to pay his debts. Suddenly, the angry shouts of the merchants are drowned out by a sound that freezes the blood in your veins. It is the rhythmic, earth-shaking thud of marching boots. The black-armored shock troops of the Qin army have effortlessly smashed through the crumbling gates of Luoyang. There is no epic, heroic final stand. There is no glorious battle to be sung about by future poets. The Qin soldiers kick down your doors, storm up the stairs, and drag you down from your pathetic hiding place. They do not even bother to treat you as a rival king. They treat you as a minor bureaucratic nuisance. As you kneel in the dirt, you are forced to watch as they haul away the 9 tripod cauldrons, the sacred bronze vessels that have symbolized the absolute power of your dynasty for 800 years. They load your divine legacy onto ordinary wooden carts and roll them away like cheap scrap metal. As the heavy wooden wheels rattle down the broken dirt road, the breath finally leaves your lungs. The longest, most resilient dynasty in the history of China is extinguished, not with a defiant roar, but with a pathetic, forgotten whimper in the cold shadows of time. The camera lens pulls back, rising high above the broken walls of Luoyang, revealing the sprawling, blood-soaked plains of the Chinese continent. Your physical body is gone. The glorious Zhou Dynasty has been violently crushed into the dust of history. The terrifying state of Qin will soon swallow the remaining kingdoms, forging the first true unified empire under the iron fist of legalism. But as the centuries begin to blur and violently crash into one another, a terrifying, awe-inspiring realization slowly dawns on you. You are dead, but you have actually won. You lost your throne, but you successfully conquered the future. Look closely at the mighty empires that rise from your ashes. The Han, the Tang, the Ming, the Qing. Every single emperor who ever sits upon the dragon throne will legitimize their absolute rule using your exact invention, the mandate of heaven. They will desperately perform your ancient, meticulous rituals, terrified that the sky will revoke their power just as it did to you. The brilliant, chaotic marketplace of ideas that exploded during your dying days, the 100 schools of thought, will become the indestructible intellectual bedrock of East Asian civilization. The strict moral hierarchy of Confucius, the effortless flow of Laozi, and the ruthless efficiency of the legalist will dictate the lives of billions of people for the next 2 millennia. You taught future kings to weaponize morality. You gave them the very language of governance. Even today, thousands of years later, when modern leaders speak of cosmic duty or social harmony, they are simply echoing the scripts written during your agonizing collapse. The profound philosophies forged in your darkest hours did not just shape empires, they molded the very psychology of a quarter of the human race. You built the enduring blueprint for absolute control, an unbreakable system that outlasted the rise and fall of countless emperors. You were not just a dynasty, you were the magnificent, agonizing forge that hammered out the very soul of a civilization. You designed the psychological cage that held an entire world together, balancing on the razor's edge between divine harmony and catastrophic violence. Your 800 years of existence were a brutal, spectacular experiment in human control, proving that power is never truly held by armies or bronze weapons. True power is held by the stories we force the world to believe. As the smoke clears and the modern era approaches, your ghost continues to quietly haunt the corridors of supreme authority. You are the invisible architecture of power. You are the Zhou. Your physical reign was extinguished in humiliation, but the heavy, suffocating shadow of your dragon throne will stretch across the earth until the end.